Hey, what's up, everyone? With Water Warfare 2 coming around pretty soon, October 28th, I believe. I think if you pre-order it, October 20th. But this new model that they're doing where they're going to follow the Halo plan and decide to just release everything, after the fact. Hopefully it goes well for you. I don't think so. But I want to talk about, Modern Warfare 2, what it's going to come out with, and see what you guys think. Let me know down in the comment section about the new game and what you are expecting, what you're hoping for, things like that. What would you like to see? Things like that. And I just want to be here to, be the first one to tell you to temper your expectations. I want to say that just in lieu of the fact of we're in the 15th iteration, I believe, of Call of Duty titles. This will be the second iteration of this Warzone 2 that is releasing sometime later in 2022. So if we're at the end of October, maybe December, we'll see. I think that's really the thing I'm most looking forward to, as well as the multiplayer. I don't really care too much for the World War II aspect of the game. I don't really like playing them per se. The multiplayer, I skipped the last few World War II scenarios that we've had. I think it's really played out. However, saying that, I think there is something to be said about, people comparing that or having the same opinion as me and looking to nostalgia. I think we have these nostalgia glasses that we like to put on from time to time and talk about things as if they're the greatest things ever. When in reality, I think things are very similar in the aspect of where they land in terms of greatness. And what I mean by that is just because I like, Infinity War modern stuff more so than World War II stuff, it doesn't actually mean that those systems or whatever is that much better. It just means that I kind of just prefer that, just like if I were to prefer medieval stuff over space stuff, and that's because I still like space stuff or, that aspect of things. I just want to say that with that, I think they're just as good. And I'm going to even bring it up to the, Season 5 trailer that released for Warzone just recently. A lot of people were very disappointed because they didn't see the Verdansk coming back. I didn't think that was going to happen with Verdansk. There's going to have to be a lot of balance changes, bugs, stuff like that they would have to do to figure that out because of what has happened since the integration of multiple, games after the fact. And to go back to that and try to change it up for what we have now to work, that'd be way too much work. You're not going to do that in a short amount of time. And with that, I would say that people like Verdansk for this high level of gameplay that people like, but in reality, people were actually getting sick of Verdansk at the tail end of it. They wanted a new map. That's why a lot of people flock to Rebirth and things like that, because it's different. And I always talk about variety. And with that aspect and what that means, because I like to play, not the same thing all the time. I like to see different stuff. That's why I'm actually a big proponent of Caldera, as opposed to a lot of people. I think they did a poll, somewhat recently on Twitter. It was like 50-50 or pretty close to it, for and against Caldera. But, the people that are against Caldera are always like, well, Verdansk is the greatest, map of all time and stuff like that. And in reality, I think they're very similar. I mean, they do change some stuff and they have some different verticality, but I think there's still just two maps. I will say Verdansk is better in my opinion. However, I'm not going to say Caldera is like the trashiest thing of all time and Verdansk is like the greatest map of all time. I think both maps could definitely be improved and be better from what they actually came out to be. I don't think they're the greatest things of all time, and I will never say that. And I'm not going to have these nostalgic glasses. I can also tell you that Modern Warfare 2 is like the greatest game of all time, the original one, and that this one will never live up to the hype or blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of the games, and I even equate it to Marvel movies, that a lot of them after a while tend to be middling. You'll have some that rise above, but we tend to have these expectations for things and look down on things that are probably, I'll just say a B grade as opposed to an A grade. And we'll just say those B grades are trash, because I would label those things because they're middling in my opinion. And same thing for those titles and things like that. So when this game comes out, I already have this expectation that we're already in a tried and true method of Call of Duty. Now, there is something to be said about them losing player base, but that's also just because you kind of just lose interest over time. It's like the thing with Verdansk, even though people say it's the greatest, map that's ever been released or blah, 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 all this stuff. I know I'm using hyperbole. I'm doing it on purpose. They say, that they liked it. They were losing interest at the end of Verdansk. They wanted a new map. And when Caldera came out, they shitted on it. They hated everything. And suffice to say, when new maps come out, there's a lot of growing pains and things like that that have to be tweaked and stuff like that, especially for these big open, map things, or I guess huge sandboxes, I should say, as opposed to open world. These kinds of things need to be tempered for expectations, because with Warzone 2 looming around, that's going to be my thing that I'm looking forward to the most. People are going to be comparing it directly to Warzone, the first one. And I'm going to look at it, without it, the glasses on, all this stuff, and try to see it for what it is, because I do like the things that they're bringing out, with the FOV sliders supposedly coming out for consoles, the Gunsmith, the new Gunsmith, we're going to go back to 5 attachments, not 10 billion attachments that you don't even remember all the names for, what guns they are. Please label the guns what they're actually called if you're going to release them. Don't be Submachine Gun Charlie or whatever. I don't know what that is. I'm not going to look it up. I don't want to look it up. You can't make me. Please tell me what the hell the gun actually is in the updates. Please. Also, based on that, we're going to be going back to 5 attachments. We're going to be, having these sliders for certain attachments of the guns, things like that. That's supposedly a thing that's coming out, according to rumors. The aspects of the map, they're going to have the new map that's supposedly coming out, for multiplayer, I believe. They're going to bring back some old iterations of it, as well as some integrations for that for Warzone 2. You're going to see some new maps come back. Those keep me interested, not so much as for nostalgia's sake, but I like just the modern setting, and I just kind of want to see what they play with. There is going to be some nostalgicness to it if they are going to be using some old maps of multiplayer and putting it into a Warzone integration, into this bigger space. That I am looking forward to see, and I'm going to look at it, without the glasses on. The aspects that I'm really interested in also are the rank mode. I mean, we've been waiting for a super long time with rank mode for Warzone. We never got to see it. Unfortunately not. Today, for whatever reason, decided never to put a rank mode in for Warzone. I know that they're going to come out with it to Warzone 2. That is a thing. It's not going to release right away, but it will be something released later. That is something I'm looking forward to. If they want to get all the kinks out before rank comes out, I'm okay with that notion. I'm more for that than them throwing it out there. They haven't figured out everything with all the player base coming in to play it, and then things going wrong while you're in the middle of the rank match, so you're stuck at bronze forever. This so-called DMZ mode, that's going to be like an escape from Tarkov thing. Curious to see what they actually pull, if they grab all the great things from Tarkov and try to improve upon it, because at this point, don't get mad because they're taking things from other games. They've been stealing from Apex for a long time, and vice versa. Like, all these games take from everything. It's just, what can you do to improve upon an idea and make it better? That stuff. Don't worry about all that stuff. It's not the end of the world. People do it all the time. However, with that being said, they need to improve upon what has already been established and what works and what doesn't, and also add your own twist onto the idea, like having different modes. This DMZ thing sounds to be a very good step in the right direction. We can have something else to play other than Warzone multiplayer, things like that, because having variety is important in games, as well as this other mode. I think is they equated it to Rainbow Six Siege, kind of, where you have this hostage situation in which you're trying to either protect or guard them, things like that. That could be interesting depending on player base. I know that's going to be a smaller player base. I think they said it was like a 5-on-5 kind of thing. We'll see how that ends up playing out in the long run. I'm interested. Change it up a little bit, make things different. Perk system seems very interesting, with the new perk system being that they may go back to being pro perks. That's one thing that I kind of enjoyed from the earlier titles from Call of Duty. We might go back to a pro perk system. The interesting thing about that is that the slots I think they said there might be 4 slots, but for each slot there's like over 10 perks. And I was just like, well, in that aspect, that could lead to some interesting gameplay because there's a lot of variation. I'm curious how the player base will take, because there may be some perks that they really want to use up for other ones. And if it ends up being that, for overkill, you can only use it on the second perk, well, then you're going to use that, or we're going to see loadouts, things like that, to where you can, get your first one, get a set of perks, and then you swap in. Or, interestingly enough, say you get your first loadie, have a set of perks, you get your second loadie, maybe the perks jump onto each other. You don't actually lose any of the perks. I mean, I feel like they kind of explored some of that in the, Warzone iteration that we have now, where you're picking up perks from extra perks, I should say, from loot crates, things like that. I kind of enjoy that aspect, as it rewards players from exploring things like that and not just camping. I like that aspect. I think there is something to be said about, rewarding players for certain play styles, things like that, to really help the flow of the game move forward and not just seem stagnant. So I will give it that. So with all these things being said, these interesting mechanics that they're adding into it, seemingly, some things that people are wanting, like the FOV slider, and, with us going back to a more modern setting, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying, like I said, I don't like World War II stuff. A lot of people don't. That's just my preference. And I'm not saying that just because, I have this nostalgia or whatever. That's just my preference. However, with those things being said, more than likely, just temper your expectations. We are wanting, something different from what we've had in the last few months. And just try to look at it, for what it is, and as opposed to what it's not. Are you having fun with the game? Are you enjoying the gameplay? Things like that. Are they doing, things the right way to, keep your motivation in the game? With this new rank system, things like that. Temper your expectations, because more than likely, it's not going to be the greatest game in the world, and it's also not going to be the worst game in the world. So just temper your expectations. Look for what it is. Try to just, see if you enjoy the game, because more than likely, I'm going to play it. I'm going to enjoy it. These new systems in place for Warzone 2, because that's what I'm looking forward to the most. So hope to see you guys out there. And sorry to be the one to tell you to temper your expectations.